Hey there people, how you doing? So this is the Galaxy Buds Plus review, and before we get started I have to say this, the price of the Buds Plus being just $150 does not reciprocate just how good these are. And so hopping right in, let's talk about the design, and while we're at it, the pairing process as well. Yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again, these things look absolutely clean and amazing. As long as you can keep it clean, that is. Because man, this thing is one nasty fingerprint magnet and keeping it clean has been torture. But otherwise, I gotta admit the design is really good. It's slick, it's smooth, almost seamless. But there is one thing that I really like about this is the fact that unlike the AirPods, this can sit upright on a table. And of course, the size is also small enough to pop them in the butt pocket of your jeans. Yeah, that's what I call them because that's basically the only use case I found for me. Anywho, the buds themselves also look really dope, especially with that glossy prism finish on the outside. And of course, opening up the case will pair them right away, and that'll only work if you have a Galaxy device. That instant pairing process, even with Bluetooth switched off, will only work with the Samsung devices. But on the bright side, the Samsung Wearables app is available on all devices, Android and iOS. But speaking of pairing, there is one little issue I have here, and it's like we can't solve it because that's just an Android problem. The initial pairing process, when you just open up the Buds Plus for the first time, you have to just keep pressing allow for a number of permissions that, Samsung can't really do anything about it, only Google can. And yeah, I understand it's about security concerns and all that, but it's not as seamless as you get with the magic of Apple's AirPods. But otherwise, after that first initial step, it is absolutely seamless and worked perfectly for me. Another thing I really like to check is that can we open the Buds Plus case with a single hand? Yeah, you can do it, dig your nails in and you have to get some work done to open it single-handedly, but it wasn't working for me, so I just started using both hands. As for the earbuds themselves, these are legit the most comfortable earbuds that I have ever placed in my ears. And there are specifically three things that, at least I feel, make that fit absolutely legendary. Firstly, there's the size. And I don't say this for a lot of earbuds, but man, these things are insanely small and light as well. It's like once you pop them in, you don't even know if they're there. Now, of course, that could be a problem, some might think, that once you put them in and can't feel it in your ears, then one might fall off and you might not even notice. Yeah, that could happen, but that's where the wingtip comes in. Because I gotta admit, once this phenomenal little wingtip right here hooks in, it ain't letting go. That's just a fact. Whether it is I'm running, I'm jumping, skipping, whatever it is, this thing will not even budge, much less fall off. And lastly, there's the customizability, not only with the ear tips, but also the wingtips, with the option to remove it altogether. With these three things, Samsung absolutely nails the fit of the earbuds, which is honestly one of the most important things, at least for me. And now, moving on to the sound quality, I think that these have the best highs that I've ever heard in any earbud, period. And there is a good reason for it. It seems that Samsung has gone the extra mile and put a separate driver for the highs. There is a separate tweeter in there that honestly makes all the difference. Now, to be clear, I am definitely not saying that the mids and highs are not that good. Far from it. They are good. Like, on par with other earbuds, but the highs, it's legitimately the best I've heard. But there is this one little issue I found. It was especially when Samsung's proprietary scalable codec was enabled. The sound would just momentarily glitch. Now, it doesn't happen often. It's like one in 2 or 3 listening sessions, but when it does happen, it's pretty jarring. So yeah, there is absolutely no other complaint regarding the sound quality, and I am just a fan of the highs on this thing. But there is one thing that I really wanted to see in the Buds Plus, and I think I'm not alone who says that it would have been nice to see some active noise cancellation in here. But one thing I definitely want to point out is the passive noise cancellation on this thing, paired up with that amazing fit, really kind of makes it not necessary to have active noise cancellation. But yeah, if you're traveling in an airplane, which at this point you really shouldn't, yeah, there it would have been nice to see some ANC. But otherwise, even though it's not there, I haven't really missed it. But even though there's no ANC, there is a transparency mode, which means that it'll ramp up the mics and let all the background noise come in. And yeah, it works alright, it's nothing to be admired, but not too bad either. I did find that all voices, including mine, sounded kind of muddy, but otherwise it worked well. It did what it was supposed to. It's functional. Alright then, now let's talk about the app, which, by the way, is really awesome. It's a Galaxy Wearables app, and once you pair the Buds Plus, then firstly, you get 3 levels of ambient sound, which you can also turn off. And as for the equalizer, well, there isn't a customizable one. I had initially thought that would cause some form of inconvenience, but man oh man, was I dead wrong. It would appear as though the dynamic preset can read my freaking mind, because I don't think a custom EQ would have done any better than what the dynamic preset already does. And it's just a click away. That's the best part about it. Then a particularly useful feature I found is that you can change the touchpad settings and configure either an assistant or ambient sound control to the touch and hold function. It's pretty handy, to be honest. And in the advanced setting, we also have the option to turn up the ambient sound when you take phone calls via the Buds Plus so that you can hear yourself when you talk. Then finally, I did find that the latency was kind of high, especially when gaming, but there is a really quick fix available for this in the lab section. Well then, the app, if it ain't evident already, is feature-packed to the brim. And I gotta admit, the settings it gives is unique in its own way, and all of them have specific use cases in which they do not disappoint. Then, moving on to the battery life. Samsung claimed that we'll be getting 11 freaking hours out of the Buds Plus themselves, and they do not disappoint in any way possible. I mean, this is literally the highest I've seen in any earbuds to date. And not once have these buds died on me while I was in the middle of a long listening session. And of course, touching up on the microphones, which have also been severely improved. You know, I see some kind of trend here. It feels as though the Buds Plus were made by Samsung specifically for the process of redemption. It takes upon all of the shortcomings of its previous generation and makes it almost as good as a standard could be. Then of course, we have good old wireless charging. Now you can either slap this on a normal wireless charger, or you can also use reverse wireless charging, provided you have a compatible device, and even charge it on the go. So if it wasn't clear enough already, I think that these are just phenomenal in all ways possible, especially because the Buds Plus, coming in at just $150, are even capable of trading blows with much more expensive earbuds like the AirPods Pro, for example, which, by the way, are $100 more expensive. Now, of course, the AirPods Pro have an ANC, which is, again, an inherent advantage, but coming in at $100 cheaper, I don't think that's really something that a lot of people will complain or even expect. So in short, I think that these are absolutely awesome. And I think that you'll find it really hard to disagree once you've tried it and put it through its paces. Especially once you've heard those amazing, amazing highs that this thing produces. Well then, the Buds Plus are a definitive recommendation from my side. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you guys later. Cheers.